The government on Talonis 4 just collapsed. Spiny lobefish is being served at the Institute today, and Yaya likes to talk to her starship through a spoon. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 6, Episode 21, written by Brannon Braga, directed by James L. Conway. This was May 1st, 1993. Where were you? We are joined by a very, very special guest, the aforementioned, the superstar, writer-producer, Brannon Braga. How you doing today, Brannon?
Hey, guys. Glad to be here.
It's going to be a good day.
Pleasure. Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here.
We have said your name so many times. Always great things. We're super excited to have you. Everybody, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for notifications. If you're listening, and give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. We'd really appreciate that. Let's just get into this because Sirach and I are super excited about this. Brannon, can you first tell us, it looks like you joined in initially on the 4th season of The Next Generation. Can you just give us a quick story about how that happened?
Yeah, it was. I had applied for an internship program with the Academy TV Arts and Sciences. They put on the Emmys every year. And they had an internship program that placed interns in various categories and on various shows. And I just happened to, I was a screenwriting intern, and they happened to place me on Next Generation. At that time, I had watched the premiere and first couple of episodes of TNG in '87. It just wasn't quite my cup of tea, but on my college campus at UC Santa Cruz, word of mouth was quite literally word of mouth, but before social media, was that TNG was good now. Like, it was a really cool show. And so the episode Best of Both Worlds Part 1 aired. And that's the first episode I watched right before my internship. So I came in between seasons 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I never left the building.
Wow, that is amazing.
17 years later, I was still there. Thankfully, not an intern anymore.
Wow.
And how quick was that transition from you becoming, going from intern to basically,
I went from intern
one of the main writers?
I started as a staff writer, and then moved up to story editor, I think, and then made the leap to producer. And it was fairly quick, I guess. I was pretty young. I was 25. And so it was fun. I probably was too young to be there, but it was a young staff. The only writer there, aside from the showrunner, Michael Piller, was Ron Moore.
Right.
And so I really had a chance to see kind of the writing staff that would do the remaining years of Next Generation come together. And I was just, I think, lucky enough to just be there when they needed people.
It's really, and obviously it's not that. It's because you're an amazing, incredible writer.
Yeah.
and the reason you never left the building is because they never let go. They realized what an asset you are. But this is actually really interesting, fascinating. Can you tell us a bit more? I mean, I laughed when you said that the word of mouth was, no, it's okay. TNG's good now. Did you get that sense when you kind of jumped in? Were you like, well, I mean, you said the episodes that you watched, were you suddenly like, okay, they're right. There's a major shift here.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't gotten past the first couple of episodes, so it was in season 1. So it was a huge tonal shift. It was obvious that I don't know that I was much of a screenwriter at that point, but I certainly noticed the writing was better and sharper, and it had a really cool science fiction premise. I'd never heard of the Borg before, so to me that was a big, amazing idea. So I was hooked right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brannon, did when you started on your journey to become a writer, did you come in it thinking that you were going to be a science fiction writer, or like what was the kind of writing that you were looking to do the most?
I wanted to be at that time a movie screenwriter and director, and so TV wasn't really in my sights consciously, but I think subconsciously, because I was gearing up to be a TV writer for a long time, because as much as I love movies, the only writer I really kind of studied was Rod Serling. I was really into the Twilight Zone. And so when I
my golden standard, the best writer of all
Yeah,
time,
you
I
got
would
Sirach's
say.
attention right there. He's always talking about the Twilight
Well,
Zone.
I think it's the best show ever, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to overstate what an influence Serling was on so many people and television in general. And so when I first started writing for Next Generation, I was a bit intimidated. I was comfortable in the science fiction genre, being a fan of science fiction. But the way I came at it was as Twilight Zone episodes that featuring the same characters every week. So if you look at the episodes that I wrote, especially early on, they kind of play like Twilight Zone episodes, including the one you want to talk about today, Frame of Mind.
Right.
This could have been a Twilight Zone. It's super easy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Practically is, yeah.
I treated I came, the different writers, Ron Moore, Jerry Taylor, and everybody else, everybody kind of came at TNG with their own perspective. And the show really could accommodate any perspective, any genre. You never knew what you were going to get week after week. But I think what I ended up being was the guy who, if you saw my name on an episode, it was likely to be something kind of off the wall, or or high concept, as they might say today. And that's because I thought, okay, this is an anthology show. I can do any kind of story I want. I want to do Twilight Zone stories. And so that's what happened.
I love it.
I wanted to ask you one more question before we move on to this particular episode. And by the way, Brannon, this is truly an honor to talk with you. I mean, like I said, we mention your name all the time throughout Star Trek history, including Star Trek movies like First Contact and Generations, that turned me into the nerd that I am today. But I wanted to ask, when you in the writer's room, a lot of times certain writers bring certain things. Like for a long time, Sirach and I joke, Ron Moore is the guy they called for with Klingon stuff, or somebody else is somebody they called on for comedy.
We called him the Margaret Mead of the Klingon Empire. If anybody knows who that is.
I wish I did now.
But
somebody knows.
He was the cultural anthropologist of the Klingon Empire.
So what did you feel you brought, or your voice was, in the writer's room?
I think, I mean, it was a very small voice to begin with, but my contributions probably were, as I just said, I didn't, my episodes aren't deep character pieces, they're, in the case of Frame of Mind, a good tour de force for an actor like Jonathan Frakes. But my episodes were kind of conceptually driven, time loops and deconstructing reality in various forms. So I was more of a Twilight Zone-esque writer, and it was I think a good addition to the show. It was in the mix, because, like I said, you never knew what you would get week after week. In fact, when we started making the Orville, one of Seth MacFarlane's dictums was, I want this to be like Next Generation, where we do all kinds of different stories about different characters. The captain's not the star. And so I think I filled a certain niche, and that was the frequently kind of high concept, often creepy, I guess, horror. I slipped a little horror in there. I was a horror fan as well.
Yeah, I definitely sensed horror in this episode. First of all, this episode is fantastic. Let's start with that. It's unbelievably enticing, and it's one of those kinds of puzzle episodes where, when you watch an episode, you feel like you can figure it all out relatively quickly. You see the teaser and you're like, oh, okay, I know what this is about, and you pretty much have it written in your head. And um, watching this, I kind of said, oh, I know, oh, this is one of those, he's practicing for a play. And we've seen Data do performances and other characters practicing for a performance. I think um, Picard also had a performance of some sort. But either way, it felt like, oh, this is predictable. I get where this is going. And then there was a point, I'm watching this, I didn't even know what was reality anymore.
Right.
I couldn't even tell you what part was reality. I was lost too. I felt like the character. And I think that's the testament to the writing. And I want to ask you about that. You are credited as a sole writer on this episode, which I always take note of because we think of these shows as a collaborative episode process. But every once in a while, we get a one name, and it means that at least the bulk of it comes from your head. And I wanted to talk about the process of just you being the solo writer on this episode.
Well, you're correct in pointing out that television certainly on Next Generation was highly collaborative. There were 7 of us, I think, sometimes less. We were doing 26 episodes a season nonstop, and it took all of our effort to make this happen. To come, because we were burning. Look, you acted on the show. You know that you were burning through a script every 8 working days.
Yeah.
7 or 8 working days. So in this case, I remember it was late in season 6, and Ron and I were kind of flying solo. The writers had everyone had broken off and it was kind of doing their own things. I just remember sitting in a room with Ron, and we kind of broke this story out together. I had this idea: what if one of our characters woke up in an alien insane asylum and was told that their entire life on the starship was a delusion, and really just kind of went with that. And I remember breaking out the story pretty quickly, and then I wrote it pretty quickly. I remember, speaking of Star Trek conventions, I remember writing this episode on a plane, stranded in the snow on a passenger jet leaving New York, flying back to LA. We were at a Star Trek convention. You never stop. You were always writing the show, So, and I just remember, I wrote it. It was generally well received, beautifully directed by James Conway, and we were on to the next one. There wasn't a lot of time to stop and contemplate anything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I want to ask you, because you're one of the few people that can kind of testify to the mood at this time period. This, you mentioned late in season 6, we have Deep Space Nine, I think, filming at this point. And what was the mindset of the awareness of another show? I mean, was it like, hey, we can't, these are certain subjects we couldn't cover? Were you shorthanded on writers that were doing double duty? What was the?
Yes to everything you're saying. I mean, there wasn't anything off. No subject matter we weren't allowed to touch other than a space station. And stories were like sifting for gold. I mean, if we had a story, it was ours.
Right.
If Deep Space Nine had a story, it was theirs. But on Next Gen, we were very, very aware of Deep Space Nine. It was a big, big deal that there was going to be another show. Huge. Star Trek was huge at the time. It would get bigger, but it was hugely popular. Michael Pillar's attention was all on Deep Space Nine. So Jerry Taylor had taken over the show running duties, and our staff got that much smaller, and losing Michael was huge. We were down one of the head writers. So more responsibility fell on me and Ron, for instance, I think. And Fortunately, I think we were up to the task at that point. But they were also shorthanded on Deep Space Nine. And at the end of season 6, Michael asked me to join the writing staff of Deep Space Nine. And he gave me the option of saying no, and I said no, not because I wasn't excited about writing on Deep Space Nine, but because I felt like I really wanted to. We knew at that point that season 7 was going to be the last season, and I really wanted to see Next Gen all the way through to the end. And I figured if he still needed me, I could still get a job on that show. So,
Right.
but I do wonder, well, what if, I'd gone over there?
Mm-hmm. I have always thought of season 7 as possibly my favorite TNG episode, so I'm looking forward to that. When you are watching Frame of Mind, I don't know if you've watched it recently, right before this, or if you just happened to chance upon it 15 years ago on UPN or something. Is there a moment that you see a certain scene or a certain line where you go, yeah, that was pretty good. I really nailed that one.
I say with total honesty and transparency, I've never thought of that about anything that I've written. I tend to gravitate more towards the things that aren't working. And I think I watched this episode. It happened to be on, I think, BBC America one evening, and I tuned in. I was horrified to see they were cutting out scenes for time to fit more commercials in, and this is not an episode where you can do that.
Mm-mm.
And
No.
that's a testament to. I mean, this you mentioned that it's like a puzzle. It is like a puzzle, and if you start removing pieces, you're screwed. It falls apart. And I was pretty pissed off about that. That aside, though, I remembered what scenes were missing, and I was generally, it held up really well. I mean, there's a couple things. The guy playing the sadistic guard is, with all due respect to that actor, he was not. He was in a different movie. I thought he was not. I wish we'd had a better sadistic guard.
Well, the guy seemed like he was like 6'7" or 6'8", so you didn't have a ton of options.
He didn't have to be that big, He just was not. He was in the Mad Magazine version. He was not. He wasn't tonally right. It was a little cheesy, and that was a huge thing for me. I remember when we were making it, and I wasn't that involved in casting at that point, but I was upset about it because that character, that foil, is important to the story. He's providing a lot of the tension, and I just didn't love him. But the Spoon Lady more than makes up for it. Susanna Thompson, who we would, a lot of times, as you know, Sirach, we would reuse actors in different roles if we liked the actor,
Yeah.
And so she would end up playing the Borg Queen at one point.
Right. She was in a couple episodes of Deep Space Nine as well. She's really accomplished.
Yep. But the episode held up well. I mean, I really liked the fact that they were putting on a play called Frame of Mind, like the play on the title. I mean, the whole episode is kind of, I guess, what you would call today kind of meta. And in fact, I think if it was an episode, perhaps on one of the new incarnations of Star Trek, they might have even added a layer of reality where his name's Jonathan Frakes, and he's on a TV show called Star Trek.
Yes.
Yeah. And but I think episodes like that are hard to finish off. I think the ending is, when it's revealed what's really going on, it's a little underwhelming. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because it can't, what is really happening. I think, sticking the landing on these kind of episodes is hard. I think I did it in the Time Loop episode, Cause and Effect, stuck the landing. But
yes.
But this one, not quite as much. But it's a fun ride as you go.
I think Jonathan Frakes did a fantastic job in his performance. There were subtle variations in how he would deliver his lines in the play format of the script. And I just loved the variation there. I just thought he really took an opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to really do some good acting here and showcase my abilities. And I felt like this was the perfect platform for that. You mentioned cause and effect, another really, I love that episode. It's a fantastic episode. And again, back to Twilight Zone. I am a huge Twilight Zone fan. And I think that the Star Trek episodes that approach sci-fi in the Twilight Zone manner are the best ones for me.
That's right. Me too.
As a fan, I just watching Twilight Zone, the way they would leave the audience guessing, the way they would leave you with a moral kind of thing to chew on afterwards, whether, what is right, what is wrong, is this a situation you would want to find yourself in? And the guessing game where you're thinking you know the plot, but you really don't know the plot. Fantastic. I just want to credit you for that. Also wanted to talk a little bit about James Conway and the directing.
Yeah.
I thought he did a really good job, and there were some chances that he took in this. For example, the breakaway from the reality sequencing of the shattering of that particular reality, where it would crumble into another reality and kept crumbling backwards. How did you feel about the style of what it looked like?
Well, Conway was one of my favorite, if not favorite, director of the show at that point. He's just really razor sharp, super specific direction. The opening shot was a very unusual shot for Next Generation. It's one long take, pushing in toward Jonathan, which was you don't really notice because you're leaning into the drama of whatever's happening. But that was a risky thing. When you're writing these scripts, and I think I even wrote in the script, reality shatters like shards of blah 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 blah. You do wonder, well, what is that going to look like? What is the director what are they going to do? But he just handled the transitions between realities were beautifully handled, and they mostly were not done with visual effects. They were just clever cuts. And I will say this, in rewatching the episode, I got lost in it too. I was unmoored. I wasn't sure what was going on. So, yeah.
And it does make you wonder when you're watching it for the first time. You think, even when the episode is over, and I've seen this episode before, I found myself checking how much runtime there was left just to make sure there wasn't going to be one more twist. I was like, wait, is it over or is it not?
Yeah.
One thing I wasn't happy about was the way, and I'm sure this was Rick Berman, he cut things too tight sometimes. The final shot, I really wanted to hold a long time on Riker taking down the set. It was symbolic to me. He was taking that reality down, and I wanted to hold on it a long time. And Conway shot it that way, because I think if you held on it just a little too long, you would have even felt that a little more.
Right. Because you don't know. You're not sure which reality we're being left in.
It just got out of there a little too quick. But but when we were doing these things too, you didn't know. I think nowadays you have a better sense of how certain episodes of Star Trek might be received, or in my case, the Orville. But at that time, you didn't. And so, I wasn't sure how this would be received. Are people going to like that? It's not necessarily your typical Star Trek episode. It has all the characters in it, but it was different. It was a little bit different. It was, but people liked it. It turns out, they were craving that kind of thing.
I think it's fantastic.
That sadistic guard behind you, Brian.
I didn't even notice him. He didn't intimidate me too much.
And you mentioned something in this episode too that I feel like almost becomes the defining characteristic of Deep Space Nine, ironically, and that is you say something to the effect of, Counselor Troy is talking to Riker. She says sometimes it's healthy to explore the darker side of the psyche, and Jung called it owning your own shadow, and so Deep Space Nine being called the dark show, and always being compared to in that way because the subject matter and things that just didn't have the kind of cheery, uppity, feel good vibes that Next Generation started out with. It felt like this episode, the darkness that's in this episode, ends up kind of, you know, being one of the defining characteristics of Deep Space Nine, essentially.
Look, it's an interesting observation, and now that I hear you saying that, I always wondered why Michael picked me to go over to Deep Space Nine. Ron would end up going there, but he approached me, and I think maybe he thought my sensibilities were better served there, because of episodes like Frame of Mind. I don't doubt it.
Mm-hmm.
Never occurred to me until now, here listening to you say that, but I think that's probably part of it.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Sirach.
It just feels like a Deep Space Nine episode to
Totally.
me, type. It's just this could be duet. This could be any kind of one of those.
I mean, it could be the one where O'Brien is in a mental prison.
Yes. Oh man,
yes.
That one was crazy.
That was intense.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, this season is my favorite season. By the way, season 6 did Chain of Command also, where he, there are 4 lights.
Mm-hmm.
That also had a darkness to it. Like, you're talking about the similar concepts in a way where you're getting broken down mentally. And that's another thing that I really like about Star Trek, Next Generation in specific, is mental health becomes really at the forefront of a lot of discussion, where it wasn't so much so in the original series. Like, how are you doing mentally is not really a big thing. But with the counselor on Next Generation and the conversations that come out of it, there are some, you mentioned Best of Both Worlds. There's some mental trauma that comes out of that leaves Picard, scarred. Then,
Listen, and the episode Family that came after that,
Mm-hmm.
was radical in its day, and like it wasn't the studio's favorite idea. Like, they were like, whoa, what are you doing?
Right.
A family drama, and it's not even in space. But the audience, they liked it, and so we kept pushing the boundaries in certain ways. And with a counselor on board, as you point out, why is there a counselor on board anyway? I thought that people were supposed to be better adjusted in the 24th century.
Well, I've always made the observation that I didn't think the counselor should be seated right next to the captain on the bridge. I thought the counselor should
right. She didn't last long.
Yeah, I was like, the counselor should have, an office where people go in and sit down on the sofa and get some therapy. But, right next to number one, and all these, like, what purpose are you serving other than when diplomats come and you're testing to see if they're lying or telling the truth? That could be easily done on a need basis.
Speaking of mental health and the kinds of episodes I was doing at that time, I don't remember what season Phantasms was in, or even Birthright Part 1. These were
coming
episodes
up, I believe,
where Data was beginning to have dreams, and in the case of Phantasms, nightmares. And Phantasms has some strong similarities to Frame of Mind, and somebody whose reality is crumbling. And in this case, an android. And that episode actually has a much cooler explanation for what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really, I think by the time I turned Counselor Troy into a piece of cake.
That's a spoiler for Sirach right there.
I hit the apex of my reality bending ways.
Yeah, with mint frosting.
Yeah.
Phantasms is season 7, episode 6.
So, okay, so you're in for a treat there.
A cake treat. Brandon, we only have you for another minute or so, but it's been mentioned twice. So I have to tell you this, Brannon. Every time I get somebody to watch Star Trek for the very first time, I show them one of your episodes. And that first episode that I use to indoctrinate people is Cause and Effect. I think it is the perfect bottle episode. Anybody can come in, know nothing about Star Trek, and get it. It's like a Twilight Zone episode, right? You walk in, you see what's going on, they flip back, they do the first time. You get it. You understand what people's roles are. Everybody has a clearly defined role. It's simple yet complex, easy to understand yet interesting. It's got a great end. It's, to me, it's a perfect bottle episode. And I want to thank you for helping me turn a bunch of people into Star Trek fans.
Listen, man, that's I'm flattered. I love to hear that. And another good one to indoctrinate people is, I think, the movie First Contact.
It's my favorite movie.
Which was by design meant to expand its horizons, to indoctrinate new people, to literally tell them what Star Trek is and see the birth of Star Trek, and make what's at stake in the movie is Star Trek itself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. I wouldn't think to do Cause and Effect, but I see why. I can see why. It's high concept. It's kind of gripping. It's the kind of stories that the show, if you like this one, you'll like the show.
Yeah. And at the end of the episode, they go, that was really cool. All right, I'll watch another one. And we're like, we win.
By the way, Ryan is the most critical of time distortion episodes, except for that one.
It's one of the best episodes ever.
You know, somebody did I did an interview for some publication about the history of time loop stories, and mine, I think, is the first one. It's interesting to look now. Time loop stories are a subgenre of its own, and which is just something that everybody knows. Oh, okay, this is a time loop movie, and but at the time, and I've said, you've probably heard me say this before, people didn't know what the hell was happening. They thought something was wrong with their TV set.
I love it.
They did. They thought broadcast, something was wrong with the broadcast. Like it did not compute. You didn't repeat acts of television.
Right.
So it was really, I'm glad to hear you're picking it, because it's not as novel anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. There's something about it that it feels like Next Generation in full stride. All the characters are their peak. They're at their peak. It looks good. It feels good. Yeah.
And it uses all the characters. And it uses all of the characters. Another thing that we look for sometimes is how well are the characters all being used, and I think that one is one of them. And this one is probably, I would say, Jonathan Frakes' best acting that he's done.
There's no question. Yeah. And I was always on the lookout to do episodes that featured characters who needed more screen time, whether that was Riker or Geordi, even Counselor Troy. These were characters that really they deserved more screen time. The Picard, Data, and Worf, that was the triumvirate. They, granted, they were the most popular characters.
Yeah.
But you had some really good actors on the show, and Jonathan's he's a really good actor. And it's, I'm sure you saw stuff in his performance that I did not see, the nuances. So I'm glad to hear that you think that's his best performance. It's certainly hard to remember any other episode.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Well, I just thought his performance was great. I like that finally he didn't save the day using sex or sleeping with somebody.
Well, don't knock it.
I mean, it works for him, but he actually used his mind. So I was happy to see that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Brannon, this has been the thrill of a lifetime. We really appreciate you joining in the fun. Like I said, we're always mentioning your name very favorably. And again, First Contact is my favorite Star Trek episode by a pretty solid margin. So thank you for that. And thanks so much for coming to hang out with us and talking to us about everything.
Me back when you hit another good episode, if there are any left that I worked on, have me back.
We'd love that.
Yeah, absolutely love that.
Maybe all good things. Maybe
we don't want to wait 7 months. We do these once a week, but we'll find something absolutely, and we'll throw the invite your way. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, everybody, stick around. We will have much more coverage of this episode. We'll be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hey, everybody, welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello.
Here are the trivioids of the week. Not a lot of trivioids because it was really just cut to the chase, A plot, no B plot. So here they are. There is such a thing as over-rehearsing. The government on Talonis 4 just collapsed. Worf cuts Riker's temple. Commander Riker forgets his name. Riker is in Ward 47 of the Talonis Institute for Mental Disorders. Spiny lobefish is being served at the Institute today. And Yaya likes to talk to her starship through a spoon. All right. So
that was a great moment too, that scene.
Right.
Because Riker's like leaning in like, oh, it's like, oh.
We all were,
tell
right?
me more. Yeah,
We are Riker. Okay, she's saying this, and we all start thinking, I'm sure you think this, we go, okay, here's the storyline. This is, because we're as an audience, we're looking for a storyline to grab onto. Okay, got it. So here it is. He's going to break free with her. Maybe they'll fall in love and he'll hump, or maybe she'll die along the way. But we get it, here's where it goes. And just as they're leading this way and he's leaning in, he's like, okay, not giving too much away. He's like, And then she pulls out the spoon, and Riker's...
Actually, hold on a second. I'm getting a phone call. Hello?
Riker's beautiful acting right there. I had to pause it just to soak it up, because when he sees her pull out the spoon, we watch him go from like, okay, like listening into like, oh, okay. And it's subtle, but we see it so well. The camera eats it up. He nails it. And I just thought that her acting was glorious. I thought that was maybe Jonathan Frakes' best moment acting. I mean, he had way bigger moments, but that subtle little thing was perfect.
Yeah, this whole episode for me was Jonathan Frakes just really laying it out there, letting us know that he has chops. And I love also when you're watching a TV show and they're pretending to be an actor. And so then you'll get a line like Dr. Crusher where she says, "You're a great actor," while they're acting. You know what I mean? So that's meta in itself. You know, I love the whole thing. But I thought Jonathan Frakes just time after time, just like when he kept saying, you're the key to all of this. Who are you? Right? Like there was moments there where you're like, I really love the delivery there, you know. And when he runs up and grabs the guy out of the crowd, out of the audience that's watching the play, and he kind of grabs him by the collar. And I mean, you can see he's losing it because he doesn't know what reality is, and I don't either. At some point in the beginning, I'm like, bro, get it together, Riker, get it together. And then at some point, I'm like, I'm losing it too, man.
I don't know what's really. I was serious when I said, like, at the end, when that's it, it's over. Like, I did check the time, how much time was left, because I'm like, is it though? Is there going to be one more? No, it's got to be over. Okay, because you don't know. You're like at a certain point, and Riker probably never knows for sure either. He's tearing down those walls almost as insurance, like to guarantee that this chapter is over. Whatever it was, he's like, I want, and as Brandon said, it would have been cool to drag that out longer. I agree. I think it would have been really cool.
Yeah. Um, you know, I didn't really necessarily think that the other, what do you call them, the guards was that bad. I did see that he did lean a little bit on the jovial kind of, not as serious a tone or intimidating that he could have been, but I thought that lent it to the unpredictability of, like, what is this? What is this guy? You know what I mean? It's because there was a moment there I was thinking, the real question is, who's the bad guy, right? I think I'm watching this thinking, okay, who's the bad guy? Who is that bad guy in this, right? He was sent to that planet to do a covert mission. I'm thinking, okay, he got caught, you know, doing his spy work for the Federation or whatever he was doing. And now he's been caught and put into this asylum place or whatever, and he's being mentally broken down. But the question is, again, still, like, are all these characters bad? It seemed like the guy, one of the guardsmen, was trying to help him to some degree. It sounded like he was like, like, no, you're missing it, bro. You're missing it. And then I'm thinking, okay, maybe he's trying to help him recover his memory so that he can tell him that he's working on a mission for the Federation and whatnot, and Starfleet, and accomplish that mission. So there's like all of these things where you're like, I don't know who to trust. I don't know who the bad guy is in this. Um, you know, and then obviously which one is reality. Did you see Dennis Matalone playing one of the guards?
No, I should have. What I'm usually better at that. Like whenever there's a fight scene, I go, "Is that Dennis?" No, I did not. I did not even think. Where was he?
He came in with that guy right there. Remember, he said he came in with a phaser in his hand, and he says, "You don't need that." And he said, "Well, you said that last time."
Yeah. Oh, so that was
Yeah,
Dennis? How
yeah,
did
it
I
was
miss
Dennis.
that? He got plenty of FaceTime, that other guard.
He did.
That was
He
not just
did.
like him flying through a wall. Like I remember that
Yeah.
other guy very clearly got a lot of screen
Yes,
time.
that was Dennis.
Damn.
Obviously he had the makeup on and
Yeah.
stuff, but that was him.
Yeah. Huh. I totally missed him there. That's cool. Yeah, so I thought the same thing as you with about this main guard guy. Although I did find myself saying to myself, like, wow, they gave that guard a lot of lines. And that was probably me unconsciously thinking maybe they should have chosen somebody else. Like to if you're surprised that someone got a lot of lines, maybe that's telling you
They're
that
talking too much.
yeah. Or that, maybe you're surprised that he got a lot of lines. I don't know. But it
Yeah.
sounds like Brannon maybe was looking for somebody a little darker, a little more sadistic, where I was thinking they were probably just looking for somebody that dwarfs Jonathan Frakes, who's
I know.
6'4". So they were just looking
Yeah.
for somebody 6'8". And, this is what you're going to get. But he was saying you don't necessarily need to be super tall, just find the right fit for the role. So that's, he was probably looking for something a little darker, a little more intimidating, and a little less kind of creepy, smiley, something.
Yeah, a more Gold Dukat type of a Gold Dukat type guy. Just somebody who has that kind of presence at least. Yeah, I thought it was hilarious. So they were at the board, at the display. Worf and Riker were talking about Tylonis 4, and they had a map of the coastline on the wall, right? And Worf says, "You're going to have to go from here to there, and it's a long distance, right?" And Riker says, "Wow, I might need to bring another set of boots." And Riker looks, and then they cut to Worf, and he's so disgusted by
Yeah,
that.
why was Worf such a bully about it? Worf was just like, "Oh, you freaking idiot! What's your problem?" Like, whoa, Worf, relax.
I was like, "What did I
bring
miss?"
some boots? Hey, it's not that big of a deal, Worf.
Why did that offend you so hard? I didn't get
He
it.
was offended. A warrior does not bring a second pair of boots on a mission. He wears his boots or barefoot, and that's that.
Yeah, he was just, like he really gave him the sour face, and I'm like, what's your problem, Worf? Like, he really looked over, and then Riker goes on, and he says, Worf says to him, we've encoded a communicator inside of this pendant, right? It was a necklace that he had a communicator in. And Riker's line was, what is this? This pendant doesn't even match the outfit, right? He's doing like a wardrobe check thing, like a style thing, which I totally get as a, a fashionista myself. But and then again, Worf gives him this look of like, just like total disgust, and it's like, you're thinking, it's almost as if the ranking is the other way around.
Totally.
Like Riker,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? The way he's looking at him. So I thought that was funny. I was like, what got into Worf? Why is he so grumpy today?
He needs some prune juice, man. We all know how Worf is. What did you think of Gates McFadden in her role? Because it's always interesting that Star Trek writers and just writers in general, they find out what their actors already do. Okay, Jonathan Frakes plays the tuba. Cool, let's write that in. Picard likes to go to Risa. I don't know if he really does in real life. Patrick Stewart, that doesn't exist. But you know what I mean? Like they find something. Beverly Crusher and Data, played by Brent and Gates, they both do tap dance. So they did that tap dance scene in that episode. Mm-hmm. And she was also an acting coach or an acting teacher for a while. So I don't know if that preceded this episode, but it made me think of that, where they're just kind of like, they kind of just hone into something that the actor is already good at or already passionate at. And it seemed like a really good fit.
I just like Gates' performance in general. She's always just, authentic for me. She seems like she has a high level of compassion, which makes her great for being a doctor and caring for patients. I love her presence on the ship, because one thing I always notice about her is that she's overly considerate about other people's emotions and feelings. She's almost like she's the Counselor Troy who can read your emotions or, sense your feelings. Because I always see how she looks at people, like the way she looks at Picard, like she knows when something's bothering him. She's very intuitive like that. And I like that about her character.
Yeah. I really
I think she'd be my number one pick if I had to have a doctor care.
Interesting.
A doctor. I think she's my number one pick. I like her style the most.
Her demeanor, absolutely.
Her demeanor, yeah. I think she's, out of all the doctors, I would pick her, including McCoy and all of them.
What even include? Well, she is an excellent dancer. Well, speaking of
McCoy might be drunk when he walks. I'm not sure.
He's gonna brand you or something. He's gonna what's the word when they burn a cut to close it up? Somebody in the live chat or in the comments below. What's it called? I think it starts with a C. Something. Anyway, it's time for the home run of today's episode. Sirach Lofton, who gets the home run of today's episode? Cauterize, I think is the word. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that, this is a difficult one for me. I cannot not give two home runs. And I'm going to give the acting home run to Jonathan Frakes, because I just feel like on screen his performance was too good for me not to give him a home run. It was just as good as it gets. I also think that Brannon Braga deserves a home run because, like I said before, he's the only writer on this episode, so this is his idea. I got total Twilight Zone vibes watching this episode. There's an episode where a woman wakes up and she's a beautiful woman, but she wakes up and she's horrified by her look. And it's that pig snout episode, yes. And this had that same feel of terror and not fitting in. There's a lot of things that were similar. Not that it's a copy of that episode, but that standard of high quality Twilight Zone science fiction storytelling, I thought was encapsulated as well as excellently in this one. So Brannon Braga gets the other home run. It's the Jonathan Frakes Brannon Braga 2-run home run special.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way on that. I mean, I feel like Frakes deserves a lot of kudos. So does James L. Conway, who's an amazing director, but he gets it. You know, he definitely understood this episode and knew what to do with camera angles and where to take certain shots, and it was really good. However, Frakes was given a good episode to perform. You know, every once in a while, a writer will give an actor, this is my gift to you. You know, like Patrick Stewart was given The Inner Light. Like, this is my gift to you. So I think that's what this was, and Frakes is incredible. I think Brannon Braga gets the home run of today's episode, in my opinion. He knocks it out of the park. And here are some other people who like parks. Their names are Dr. Anne-Marie Seagull, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackman Tom, TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Titus Moeller, Dr. Mohammed Noor, Anil O. Palat, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, the Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Jake Barrett, Henry Unger, Allison Leach-Hyde, Julie Manasfi, Jed Thompson, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Glenn Iverson, Dave Gregory, Chris Sternett, Greg K. Wickstrom, Cassandra G., Chuck A., Chris Garris, Linda Page, and of course, Jason M. Oken. All right, everybody. It's like Thorin Oakenshield of The Hobbit. Stick around, everybody. We'll be right back with the free-for-all on the 7th rule.
Man, you gotta celebrate the whole month.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the 7th rule with Sirach Lofton. This is the free-for-all. We got a full house.
Woohoo! Yeah.
All right. The Ace of Spades, Melissa Longo. I can't come up with a card for everybody, so we'll just move on from that analogy. Jason M. Oken is here as well.
Hi, everybody.
Chuck A. is the TNG fanatic.
Hey.
Dr. Susan V. Gruner likes to play Go Fish. TJ Jackson Bay is a Texas Hold'em kind of guy. Allison Leach-Hyde is in a SUV that's warm. Mark Zutkoff doesn't play cards.
I do too.
Oh, man. Dr. Anne-Marie Seagull is here in a very white place.
Hey.
Chris Garris has his isolinear chip shirt.
Hello.
Carrie Schwent can bounce off the walls without getting injured. Chris McGee is the Dark Lord.
Greetings.
And the Matt Boardman is ready to rock. All right.
Yo.
Sirach Lofton. Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
Ah! Your hat! Sorry, I just saw your hat. It's great.
I like I like this episode. I'm gonna give it what I want to give it. I'm gonna actually say this is a 9.
Oh.
Ooh, nice.
All right. Does anybody have any guesses as to what this is on IMDb that doesn't already know?
6.1.
Mm-hmm.
7.5.
Ooh, we're all over the place already.
7.1.
That one hurt. That was below the belt.
Talk about schisms.
Which one?
Any other guesses? So I heard 6-1, 7-5, 7-1. All right.
Jason?
7.8.
Mhm.
I'll go 7-5. I'm in a 7-5 frame of mind.
Okay.
All right. The answer is, Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's an 8.1.
Nice.
Very
Yes.
nice. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Oh, I didn't catch any non-appearance mentions, did you?
Mhm.
Nope. What about Dark Lord? I don't think there are any some kinds of or some sorts of, are there?
We got 2.
What? What?
Ah.
Dr. Crusher, when she was undercover and speaking to Riker in that common area, said, "We're beginning to think there's some kind of a conspiracy going on."
Right.
And right towards the end, as Riker's explaining how he was abducted, says, I managed to get one of them off me, but I think they injected me with some sort of drug."
Excellent. Oh, those are good. All right. Melissa Longo, will you please get us started off on the right track?
I have a question.
Yes.
The admiral that they mentioned in this episode, is that an admiral that we ended up seeing at any point?
That's a good
Admiral
question. I don't
somebody?
think so, right?
I've never heard that Admiral.
There was somebody
Boudreaux.
mentioned. Yeah, Boudreaux. Is that what it was? I don't think
Yeah,
so,
'cause-
no.
Okay. So
Otherwise, that would have been, yeah.
You mean
I
one
have a question too.
in
I have a
Chicago?
question for Sirach.
yeah,
I've been noticing a lot that in every actor's eye, there's a white reflection, a square. So that's obviously what is that?
that's the lighting.
Some kind of
A
stage
square
lighting.
light?
Yeah.
Yeah. They use a square light with a softener on it. You know.
Oh.
In fact, I have one right here. I don't know if if
Yeah,
it'll
you can
show up
see it
there,
in his eyes.
but
Yes.
I
The
don't know if you
square.
can see that. It's a big. It's not going to show up. But yeah, it's
No,
a
it's a
big.
black hole.
It's a box light with a diffuser on the front of it.
Yes. So they do use those absolutely.
All the time in every shot?
There's going to be one pointed at you in some direction or
Wow,
somewhere.
okay.
Yeah, especially on close-ups, you're going to get that lighting.
And the
Nowadays,
actor's
everybody
favorite
sees a
song-
circle in their eyes or on their glasses because of all the ring lights.
Yeah.
What do you
The
got? What'd you
actor's
say,
favorite
Mark?
song is "You're So Square, Baby, I Don't Care."
Ah. I wish I got that. All right, Melissa, what do you got for us today?
What do I got for us today? Boy, this was a trippy episode. That's trippy. And I understand why Sirach likes this episode because it's Twilight Zone stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
it's right up. Yeah. So, very trippy. Jonathan Frakes delivers some good performances in this. And I always love seeing Riker and Troy's relationship, even when it's just surface level. But I love the scene in the bar when they're talking to each other, and I love the connection that they share, and it draws me in every single time. And I love that she's his emotional center in a way, and that's what the episode mentioned. There was a lot of twists and turns in this episode. I think the opening scene was really good, and I liked the way when Riker is going over his lines down the corridor that the person passing him is going like because if you're an actor, you know these kind of things happen, because if you're going over your lines, no matter where you are, in your car or somewhere, you're going over a dance step somewhere, you're gonna get those looks like, are they crazy or what? But
Yeah.
there was a lot of interesting stuff in this. Oh, it was great to see Susanna Thompson in this, before she was Jadzia Dax's other, pussy partner. And I do have a nitpick that I will save for things left unsaid. But if you're not a patron, tune in to become a patron so you can tune in to things left unsaid.
Good Susanna Thompson knowledge. Thank you very much, Melissa Longo. Jason M. Oken. This is the kind of episode that seems like it's right up your alley with some fun directing. What'd you think?
Oh, absolutely is, and I think not just because you had Brannon on earlier in the show, but I think it probably is some of his best work on Next Gen for sure. The episode kind of moves along. It's you don't quite know what's going on until the very end, And I think certainly when it comes to Frakes, it's his maybe his best performance of the series, and probably until season 3 of Picard. He just carries the show. He's in every scene, and you can see the subtlety in the performance. And I'll talk about some of the details later, because I think it benefits from repeat viewings and actually looking at the script just to see how nuanced that performance really was. And Brian, as you said, in terms of directing, I think Jim Conway did a wonderful job. I think, bringing in somebody with lots of experience, somebody who could do this very, very well. Again, there were some instances there that actually accentuate the creepiness of the situation. I mean, I know that all of this happens, I guess, in Riker's mind for the entire episode, but the details, the little things like some camera angles, some wide angles, especially even on a close-up, that you get sort of this creepy feeling going throughout. I think it was a wonderful show. I personally enjoyed it, and I think I enjoyed it more as time goes on, just because of how different this episode is. You do have some science fiction concepts. You do have a little bit of action. You get some danger there, going face first into the wall, which is always great. Again, there's a lot more to say, and I'll save it for later.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Jason M. Oken, who loves this episode. Chuck A is a TNG fanatic. Cool shirt, man. What'd you think of this one?
Yeah, I really like this episode. It's much better than I remember the last time I had seen it. I was impressed. And I'm going to agree with Jason. Jonathan was insanely great in this episode. I thought he since he was in almost every scene, he was really, really good. And Susanna Thompson also, Melissa said she was in the DS9, but she later appeared in Voyager for a couple episodes. I won't say the character. I thought the scene with Beverly, the couple scenes with Beverly at the play, and also the scene where she was trying to get him out of the situation he was in the asylum there. The episode itself, I thought, was very fast paced. I was watching it, and I said, God, I can't believe it's almost over. It was just constant, I would say action, but a lot of good scenes in the episode. I really liked the episode, like I said, more than I had remember it. But Jonathan was really so good at this episode.
Great sentiments. Thank you very much, Chuck A, a.k.a. TNG fanatic. Dr. Susan V. Gruner, that's her name, even though she left out the doctor and the V on her Zoom thing here. What'd you think of this one?
Well, I will start out by saying that when I started watching it, I wrote Jonathan Frakes A+ acting. Then there's a couple of spaces, and I wrote creepy, creepy, creepy. I hate this episode. And then I wrote Ferris Bueller 9 times. That's how many times supposedly he stabbed the guy. And I did not like Troy's red lipstick. I just tried so hard to say something positive about this episode, but I just didn't like it. It was boring for me. And that's all I have to say.
Oh, wow. I noticed the lipstick too. I was like, is this that part of the 90s where we had that kind of situation there? But maybe, I don't know. All right.
I felt like it was a filler episode. The same background and scenes and nothing.
There it is.
It just, I didn't like it.
Well, we're sorry you had to go through it, Sue. Thank you for powering through for us. Thanks very much. TJ Jackson Bay is in Missouri, but it looks like he's got a cool Chicago background, if my eyes remember that correctly. What'd you think of this one?
Yes. Well, this episode has been one that it's always tripped. Hold on for a second. I'm getting a call.
Oh,
yes,
boy.
Enterprise. Oh, you can't even see the. See
but we got the joke. It's a
spoon. But yeah, this episode has always really tripped me up, and I've always liked it for that reason. I never could figure out what was it? This is the closest I've gotten to really figuring out what parts were real and what parts weren't. And it's still a big question mark. Yeah, I know, most of it happens in Riker's head, but some of it's pulled from reality. So, I think in my mind, I like to think some of the scenes are things that Riker actually experienced. But it is really trippy, and it messes with me every time I watch it. It messed with me this time when I watched it. And it's so good. Jonathan Frakes really, really, really sells it. I think Sue mentioned that. I think this episode was, on a budget. There aren't a lot of sets, and most of the scenes, are in that one space. You get some ship scenes too, but they're all, again, sets that already exist. I think all they built for this one is the sail, and maybe they redecorated some of the existing sets for the hallways, I believe. But so Frakes sells it. He sells it. It's so good. It's one of my favorite episodes. That wasn't true before, but it is now. I love watching this episode, but I have to be ready for it to watch it, because I know that it's going to mess with my head, and that's the fun of it. And again, it just would not work without the performance that Jonathan Frakes put in. This is one thing I think Melissa kind of mentioned, the conversation that Will and Deanna had in the bar. And the thing that really caught my eye, Melissa, was when he, gives her the little peck on the cheek and walks away. She has this smirk on her face that just, like she's so giddy. It made me feel giddy just watching it. So yes, I enjoyed that scene as well. I thought it was super funny that after he finally gets out, and I got a few nitpicks on the episode, but not a whole lot. But they're just kind of funny nitpicks, but we'll talk about that later. But when he finally gets out, he's like, I gotta tear this set down. I can't sleep knowing that this thing is still up. So I really, really enjoyed his reaction and his recovery from all that he had been through. And he's like, this thing has got to go. It's got to go. I'm interested, though. I don't know that we got to see it. But I kind of want to try some spiny lobe fish, don't you?
You first, man. Thanks very much, TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri. Allison Leachhide is on her way back to New Mexico. What do you think of this one?
So I think it is wonderfully acted, very well directed, and is a fascinating story and a good watch. I do not like this episode. I do not like when our beloved characters have their slating and all of that. It makes me really anxious. So I have never liked this episode since a kid through now. I'm old enough now that I can go, I think it is a good episode. I don't like it. And that can be two totally different things. So that's where I'm at with this episode. What I love about this episode, though, is, of course, the relationship that we get to see with Riker and Troy and Beverly. Like, the ladies had a lot to do in this episode, which I really appreciated. I also really liked when we had Troy, Worf, and then Picard as being cornerstones of Riker's emotional and mental states. And those are the characters or people in his life that he picked. I thought that was really interesting. And I really liked that because that show gives us, another little insight into Riker, which we don't usually get that doesn't involve the lady of the week. So I liked this. We learned about Riker, who Riker is. So enjoyed that a lot. And what else? Oh, I love Beverly's outfit when she's in the her sage green outfit. Love that. And as somebody who has directed Friends before, I too was sitting there mouthing all the lines, and I had to hide in the light booth because otherwise I was going to drive people crazy. So love that Beverly did that too, because I can truly understand that. All right, my phone battery might die, so I'm going to go, or at least pass off to somebody else. But yeah, not my favorite episode, I have to say, but I think it is very well done.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Allison Leach Hyde on her way back to New Mexico. Mark Zutkoff's phone is never below 50 on the battery. What do you think of this one?
I wouldn't consider this episode a favorite, and it is difficult to watch, but it never ceases to hold one's interest, and it's a tour de force for Jonathan Frakes as Will Riker. This was the third episode this season with Worf appearing all in black, acting a bit like a ninja after Chain of Command Part 1 and Birthright Part 1. Beverly assuming the role of play director and acting coach again, loved it. Liked even with the holodeck, they used real sets for the play. Loved the effects of the late scenes where people and settings would shatter into fragments. Very effective. Too bad there are no regular Vulcans in the cast. When the reflection therapy projected Enterprise crew, Picard had to stand in for the logical thinking one. Guest Dr. Solar was elsewhere.
Nice.
Number 47 watch, Ward 47. Lots of allusions, not illusions, though there were plenty of those, to other episodes and shows. Riker on an examination table is a callback to Schisms this season. Being injured in an alien culture is like the fourth season episode First Contact, but without the facial and hand appliances, which should have given something away to Riker when he didn't look like the inhabitants. The back and forth between the Enterprise, the play, and the insane asylum might have been the inspiration for a classic episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Normal Again, where Buffy was in a hospital thinking her life as a slayer was not real. And when the supposed officer from the Yorktown pulls out the communicator spoon, all I could think of was, there is no spoon from The Matrix. And my home pun of the episode, you would think the hospital administrator, Dr. Suna, would have to release Riker sooner or later.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Mark Zutkoff, and a Dr. Solar Nam from Mark. All right, Dr. Anne Marie Siegel is here. What do you think of this one?
Well, first of all, I have my favorite holiday mug of all time, which is I have this Chaos Christmas mug, and it's so cute, and the inside is red. So,
Nice.
you know, I gifted that to like everybody the year it came out. And then I have my Sci-Fi Sisters. I can't see myself. My Sci-Fi Sisters or Sabrina Wood t-shirt that goes to her. So make sure to check out Sci-Fi Sisters for that. It's amazing. But yeah, I love this episode. It's so trippy, like everybody else has said. But one thing that I always want to know more about is this intimate theater space they have on the Enterprise, and like who gets to go, because it's all like the top level commanders. Like, is there a lottery deciding who gets tickets? Like, I don't know everything about it. It's so weird and quirky, and that's why I love TNG. Like these kind of little details. Every time you watch, you're like, huh, what is that? So yeah. That's basically all I have to say, because it's obviously an incredible episode, and I voted 10 out of 10 on IMDb last week.
That tracks. Thank you very much, Dr. Anne Marie Siegel out in the snow. Chris Garris, what's up? You had a birthday recently. But what do you think of this episode?
It's not, kind of like what Allison said, it's not my, favorite, but not my, not my least favorite either. But I will say it does give Riker or, Jonathan Frakes, a good way of just, really stretching his acting chops there. I mean, you look at this picture right here, that one right there. I mean, you can see the craziness in his eyes. He really does a good job, I felt, of portraying, what if is he in his right mind or not, and so I have to give him props for that. And also I do like how, when they were doing that one treatment, and he brought in Troy as, because that's basically his rock, even though he may not like to admit it sometimes, she really is his foundation. Now I was surprised, as some people said, it's like you're trying to go from the reality and the not. And so it was hard knowing this, having seen this episode before, it was hard to not, well, that's part of the illusion. And so if I hadn't seen that, but it's like, when he kissed her, I was like, that seems a little weird. I hate to say weird, but it seemed a little out of the norm, because at this point we don't know, they're not in a relationship that we're aware of. So it just felt, it felt a little odd. So if I hadn't seen it, I would have thought, well, I would have thought, this is real, but I know that was part of what was going on in the asylum for him. But yeah, I mean, it's not a bad episode. I definitely have no problems with watching it. I have a few little nitpicks, which I'll leave those for things left unsaid. So you have to come over and become a Patreon if you want to see that and hear them.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Chris Garris. Good plug. All right, Carrie Schwent is the Crafty Bear. You always got a cool background. What'd you think of this one?
I love this one. It's definitely going in my top 10. I love how dark and twisty it is. Jonathan definitely knocks it out of the park. This style is kind of my favorite subcategory of horror movies, the ones that really just mess with your head, like Get Out. You have a hard time figuring out what's going on in that movie until like 2/3 of the way through that one too. And like Mark, it immediately reminded me of that Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode. That is one of my favorites of that series too. And unlike this episode, that one leaves you with just this weird, unsettling feeling, because it doesn't really say definitively one way or the other which one is real. And I love that about that episode. And in my research, I found it's impressive as hell that this episode came together in 3 days, just based off of random straight thought from, I think it was of Brannon Braga, of what if Riker wakes up in a mental asylum and has no idea how he got there. I love that. It came together very, very well. And something that I noticed, and the next time anyone rewatches it, you never see any exterior shots of the Enterprise until Riker wakes up to reality, and then the next scene you see is an outside shot with the captain's log. It does a similar thing that I remember from in Ship in a Bottle, that you're not into, you don't know you're in the real world until you see the outside of the ship. So all of the holodeck within a holodeck. You don't see any exterior shots in that episode either until near the end. Couple things about the couple quick guest star things. There are 2 actors in this episode that have been, not on the same one, but have been on Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. Susanna Thompson, I mentioned before in the other TNG episode that she was in, but the administrator Sona got played by Andrew Prine, who I found out is the cousin of one of my husband's favorite artists, John Prine, which he thought was awesome. I don't enjoy him as much as the hubby does, but he's very, very cool, and I love it. I love that they're related. And most of us have slept since then, but I recognized Dr. Cyrus from playing Waylon in the season 1 episode, The Big Goodbye. And when I watched it the second time, I could really hear it in the voice. He's got such a neat voice, and thankfully fares a much better fate in this episode than Waylon did in the Big Goodbye. I've got a couple of quick things that I'll save for things left unsaid if there ends up being time for it in there. But to introduce the limerick, I'm going to steal a page from TJ's book, and I think my little white pen here will show up a little bit better than his spoon. First officer's log. What's happening? I can't tell what's real. What caused this pain in my head that I feel? Mental hospital or ship? I'd like to end this strange trip. Someone please tell me what is the real deal. End log.
End log. Nice non-appearance mention for Trip. Thank you very much, Carrie Schwent. All right. The Dark Lord, Chris McGee, has some thoughts. What are they?
Indeed, I do. Yes. Frame of Mind, the Mind Screw episode. And I think it's the 3rd time now that Riker becomes an unwilling subject of an alien's examination. At this point, I question if he's truly unwilling. In the past, I was always under the impression that this was not a well-received episode among fans, but listening to everyone else here, it's clearly a divisive one for sure. Regardless, I have always enjoyed the episode. It may not be among the top 10 of the series for me, but it's probably close. I've always had an interest in productions that make the audience question what they are seeing, wondering if it's reality, a dream, a hallucination, a stylized representation of events, or something else entirely. It reminds me of some great Star Trek episodes, like, for example, Far Beyond the Stars. And it's why I enjoy movies like Jacob's Ladder, Fight Club, Shutter Island, the list goes on. Oh, and of course, anything by David Lynch. Because this episode centers around a play, I love how so many lines are either contradictory or have a double meaning when you think about it as the actors talking instead of their characters. Like Marina Sirtis saying, "This could be a sign that you're a real actor," to Jonathan Frakes. Or David Selberg saying, "I can assure you this is not a stage." And of course, Frakes himself saying, "I feel like an actor." My memorable quote of the episode, though, is not one of those three. It's instead Troy saying, "Sometimes it's healthy to explore the darker side of the psyche."
Yes. And who better to know the dark side?
The Dark Lord.
That's what it is. All right. The Matt Boardman, what do you think of this one?
I freaking love this episode, and I love it because it messes with your head. I mean, even for as many times as I've watched this episode, I love that it keeps you guessing, because you're like, "Oh wait, no, we're back. No, we're not back, are we? But wait, is it who? You know." You can feel that moment in the episode where your brain just kind of goes, "I can't figure it out," and I love that about it. I think that is absolutely fantastic. I like episodes that you can go back, and each time you watch it, you maybe catch something different, or maybe you have a different theory about what's going on and where we are and everything like that. And I think that this episode has it. Like everybody said, that Jonathan Frakes, I think, is underrated. I remember there was an interview where he was talking about that he was like the third best actor in his house. And behind his wife and his his kids in there. But I don't know, I don't think the guy gives himself enough credit, because when you give him something like this that he can really sink his teeth into, I think he really, really nails it. And then the other thing that about this episode that I have always loved is that, and this is where I reveal my psychosis, where I'm just crazy. I mean, as if you didn't already know that, but there was a point when I was a kid that I was really sick. And I took a nap as part of being sick, and when I woke up, my dad had surprised me with a Transformer toy, but it almost didn't feel real, right? Like I felt like I was dreaming. And ever since that moment in my life, there are times where I will go to bed and I expect to wake up and be back at that moment in my life where I was like, I don't know, maybe 7 years old. And all of this almost 40 years that I've experienced since that moment is all happening in a dream. And so this episode kind of reminds me of that moment, that this thing that I have in my life. And I know it sounds crazy, but sometimes I do wonder if at some point I'm going to wake up and realize that all of these things that I've experienced in my life were nothing but a dream. So this episode gets top marks for me.
Okay.
She's calling 7-year-old Matt.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Things left unsaid. Right? He's going to tell us which Transformer toy that was, and I can't wait. Jake's final take. Srock, final thoughts on this one?
Yeah, a couple final thoughts. One, I thought they were going to bring a little callback moment for the black guy that was in the infirmary who was giving us mad dog stare to Riker. I thought he would get a callback moment, but he didn't. Because I was interested. He was like starting mad dogging him. I'm like, hey, who is this guy? I don't trust Worf's debriefing. I just don't feel like he has the ability to be able to give me a full comprehensive view of what's going on. I would prefer Data or somebody else giving me a brief. If I'm going on a life or death mission by myself, it can't be Worf. You're pissing me off, Worf, already. Got a bad attitude. So I'm just saying. Number 3 here. Oh, reflection therapy. That could go really wrong for Riker because we don't know what's in his head, right? I mean, you can just imagine all these girls popping up, and we're like, okay, this just took a whole left turn. I did feel like this gave me some kind of chain of command vibes with the torture that Riker's going through. Felt like it was his, time to get that. I'm interested to see if there's any callback to the trauma that he faces in this episode. If there's any, like, even just one line that is a callback to this to see how his mental health is, because I think this is something that would really be affecting someone's mental health and be difficult to kind of recuperate from. I also like the fact that Picard does not want to act, and I thought that was like hilarious in itself, especially since he's always quoting Shakespeare. I'm like, well, there's your chance, buddy. And then lastly, I'll just say I have 2 words for the people of Tylonis 4. And that is facial circumcision.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Never mind.
That works.
That should have been things left unsaid.
Yeah. Good thing Allison's not driving. He's just a passenger. All right. Good stuff. I know what timestamp to edit. Okay, good. And also, I'd be more concerned with Riker talking about a debriefing personally, but that's it for us. Thank you very much to Matt, Chris McGee, Carrie Schwent, Chris Garris, Dr. Anne-Marie Siegel, Mark Zutkoff, Allison Leach Hyde, TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Chuck A., Jason M. Oken, Melissa Longo for myself, Sirach, Melissa, and Mr. Aaron Eisenberg. Thank you all so much for partying with us. We will see you next time. TJ means it too. He's like, love you guys. I'm going to call you on my spoon. See you next time on the 7th Rule.